Happy Wednesday, I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm Jess Moyer. Welcome to EverTalk Live, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. for all things happiness and Hollywood, a little dose of pop culture and positivity for you on this Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, Jess. How are you?
I'm good. You know, I'm just so happy to be here because in the face of coronavirus and everybody being scared and being isolated, we've got a couch full of
What? I love it, I know.
To have a very fun conversation. Let's toss it back there right now. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Back in the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning. We are so grateful that you're here with us, that you braved, well, just coming outside of your house today and sharing a little light and love with us. We want to know, how do you wake up and stay woke? What's your morning routine like?
I live in the mountains, so the first thing I do is I make a chai in the morning, and then I go to my piano and I play for about 30 minutes.
Wow, novel response.
Spoken like a woman who might host one of the most popular podcasts of all time,
Indeed.
Unconventional Life, Stories from the Path Less Traveled. I love that.
Fantastic.
Chai and piano.
Right? I know. I wish I could do either of those. Just one.
Is the invitation open to join you one of these mornings? I think we might need to go.
It is totally inclusive.
Okay,
Super
perfect.
sweet.
Good, I love that. So tell us a little bit about what you do to wake up and stay woke.
I have two different rituals. The first is I sort of flail and struggle, and my boyfriend brings me a coffee, and then I online shop to jar my brain awake. And the second one, when I'm a little more woke, is I do 5 minutes of breath work, 5 minutes of meditation, and then 5 minutes of something that's super pleasurable. So I'll either self-pleasure, I'll do breast massage, or I'll shake with sexual energy, and it starts my day off with this full aliveness.
Holy smokes! Came in with both guns blazing today.
Our mothers are going, what? Oh my gosh, it's going to be a good show.
I know, right? And she managed to share all that, in a PG, at least PG-13 way.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Very gracefully done. Thank you so much. Well, we are so excited to welcome Jason back to the show. Of course, he is the founder of Gru Cruise and the Chief Excitement Officer for Wet Travel. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
I don't know how you're going to follow that up, brother. Good luck, man. Good luck.
Follow it up either.
Somebody cue the EDM
I
music or something. So how do you wake up and stay woke?
So I wish I woke up like this morning to my nieces who are 2 and 5 that woke up and helped them get potty trained and so forth, but that doesn't happen every day. But generally I wake up and I think of 10 things that I'm grateful for, and I do it like a lotus flower in my hand, so I think of 1 thing, 2 things, and open up my hand as I go. That's my first thing that I do.
Love it. Just went from Showtime to Disney right there.
Exactly.
Full range here on EverTalk Live. Well, thanks so much. Tova is in the house. Good morning. Tell us a little bit about how you wake up and stay woke. What's your routine?
Hi, good morning. Well, I start with the breakfast tea because I live in England, so it's all about the tea. And then I hide from my kids as I drink my tea. Yeah, and then I spend the rest of the morning running around like a headless chicken trying to get my kids out of the house. So, yeah, that's about it.
And it's a full-time job right there.
It is.
Just getting them out of the house. Oof.
Yes.
Oof.
Any secrets? Anything you've discovered that works?
Shouting. No, I'm kidding.
Shouting? Yeah, shouting, sugar.
A lot of shouting, yeah, bribing, all the things you're not supposed to do according to parenting books.
Awesome.
They work.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nico is in the house. We've got a great teen pop artist with some new music. Good morning, Nico.
Good morning.
So how do you wake up and stay woke? What's your morning routine?
Well, since I'm a sophomore in high school, I try to do my best. When it's on the weekends, I just wake up and I just text my friends to kind of go to Starbucks and get like a frappuccino or something. But that's usually what I do on the weekends. So yeah.
Awesome. Pretty good. No complaints there.
Yeah,
Love that.
Sounds like my life as a sophomore.
Exactly. And apparently I didn't get the memo. Everybody's got black and white on back there, huh?
I know. We are way off.
I know.
Yeah.
All good. You guys look great, though.
We are so excited that you're here. Thanks so much for sharing your morning with us. We look forward to continuing the conversation later in the show.
Wow, I love it. A lively bunch this Wednesday, huh?
Yes, we need that, especially with this dreary spring weather. LA decides to have weather which is, for me, being that I've lived in California now for over 12 years, I don't even check the weather. It's not a thing. I just wake up and I assume, and this is the best problem to have, that it's going to be about 75 and sunny every day.
And you're consistently right, I'd say. That's the best thing about living here.
Most of the time, and I like to be right.
I'm the same way. You know, even when I moved to Miami, like, you know, before LA, I would never check the weather. One, because I didn't like looking forward to a day that was going to be dreary anyway. And second of all, it was very rarely accurate. I don't know what it was, but for some reason, when you lived on the beach in Miami Beach, they'd say, oh, it's going to rain almost every day, but it'd almost be sunny practically every day.
Well, we need a little sunshine in the light of these times. You know,
we do.
So many people are so scared about what's happening in the world. And, you know, we don't really like to talk about news or hot topics or politics, but this coronavirus, the state of the world and politics, what's happening out there outside of these studio walls is literally terrifying people. I went to a fashion event last night, as I normally do, right down the street here in Beverly Hills, and it was to support Italian fashion designers. Now, this event had been planned for months, and I arrive, and there's all these beautiful clothes, and no Italians. No designers. They actually were not allowed to travel here. They had been quarantined. The whole country of Italy is essentially locked down. And it was sad and it was shocking. And we were there with these beautiful clothes and no designers to actually celebrate. And so we were all doing our Insta stories and no one would shake hands. No one would kiss or do any pleasantries. And we all just thought, we shouldn't be here. We should go home. And that isn't a good feeling.
No, the energy, I would imagine, off, right? Just
totally off. The clothes, phenomenal.
Beautiful, right?
Check my Insta stories. I'll post them later today. But what do we do,
That's
Rob?
such a good point.
I mean, being that you're the happiness expert, we need human connection. We need to come together and have community. And there's definitely, I'm afraid, going to be a lack of it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's such a good point because, you know, look, there's so much here we can't control, and there's so much here we can control. And when you can't control so many things like in your external environment, it's so much more important to control the one thing you can, which is sort of what you think and what you feel, right? And a lot of that also is about connecting with yourself, I'd say, first and foremost. And you spoke about that really eloquently before you started the show, Jess, and you said, look, this is a great opportunity for people to like focus on like self-care, connecting with themselves, if they have a spiritual practice, or they meditate, or they pray, or they read, or they can
face mask,
or they face mask, bubble bath, wine, whatever it is. But I would say that, you know, first I think it's important to, as we spoke about yesterday, focus on what's controllable. Mostly that's about staying out of your head and staying off the news. Like, you know, get your little quick update, but that takes like 10 seconds. Most of what you hear on the news and most of what you think in your head is redundant and negative and completely useless. It doesn't help anybody or anything feel anything other than fear, you know?
Yeah, completely. I even went to the market before I went home last night, stocked up on what I thought were essentials: almond butter, apples, coffee, some soup, right? I was like, I've got my staples. And I looked around and people were just loading up their signs on the market shelves, limit 5 Clorox items. And I'm like, what is this? No toilet paper in sight. And like, feels like apocalypse now.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's not like there aren't real things out there to worry about, but there's no use worrying about them, and you do what you can. You know, it's like Richard Carlson, the author of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. He'd always say, you know, life might be full of frustrations, but there's no reason to be frustrated by them, right? The idea essentially is that, you know, putting your focus and your attention and your awareness on all the things that are upsetting or worrisome or concerning is not helpful. Not only that, but it also compromises your immune system. So right now, of all time, you want your immune system to be strong and healthy and supportive. And in order for it to be that, you need to relax. You know, you have to find a way to relax.
Netflix and chill with yourself.
We got a guest that can tell us all about that.
All about
Are you
that.
kidding?
Stock your freezers with some Craig's vegan ice cream and you're good to go.
That's right. Stay off the news and stay out of your head. I mean, that's the most important thing, right?
Exactly. Well, on that note, keep streaming. We'll be back with some great guests. And here's a look at our experience from last year's Groove Island with Jason Buchmeyer. Next guest, stay tuned. It's a hot September day here on Catalina Island, and we are just miles from Los Angeles. I'm Justin Boye. Good morning, Wildlands. And today we are celebrating the first annual Groove Island.
What's up, guys? I'm Sam Feld, and this is Groove Island.
My name is Brooke. This is Groove Island. Woo! Groove Island.
Groove Island!
Groove Island! We're so excited to be here.
Welcome to Groove Island.
Sam Carolina Island, my name is Sam Feld. How we feeling?
Most memorable moments for me today was setting the intentions.
Yeah.
What is your intention with Groove Island?
My intention is that everyone leaves here with new friends and new memories to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And what's your experience have been like with these Groove fans, this Groove community? I know you haven't been to the festival yet, but I know it's not your first experience.
No, I've been to the cruises, obviously. It's amazing. Like it's such a cool family, like music lovers. You guys come together everywhere around the world now in this beautiful location. I'm sure it'll be awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Welcome back to EverTalk Live. That was a look at our incredible experience at Groove Island. Special thanks to the founder himself, the Chief Excitement Officer, Jason Buchman. Thanks so much for being back with us today. That was epic.
Yeah, and what a dope title. Chief Excitement Officer?
Right?
That's dope.
You know, we were talking a little bit at the beginning of the show. In the face of the fear right now, how do we really get out there and enjoy life? I mean, being the Chief Excitement Officer, what's your take on all this?
It's unprecedented. No one really knows, what's gonna happen, and no one's seen this before. So, but like you said, I think it's really important to get out there and continue to live life and be happy and still be around friends and still hug and do those things. And there's about getting a flu or a cold or things like that. I mean, we've all had them, and this isn't any different. But obviously, people are concerned and understand that for sure, and hopefully it'll go away soon.
Well, but you've curated such an incredible community and really have made it a priority to set your intentions before the event, before that incredible island party even happened. This man took the stage and set intentions for us for the weekend. And so I want to share that with our audience because I think it's important that if people are going out, that they're going out with a community that they can trust. And you, being the leader of that community, what are you doing to kind of ensure that for the upcoming events that are happening?
Yeah, I think it is really important to set intentions and kind of what type of atmosphere you want to create, what type of people you want to bring, what type of music you want to create, because we do dance music and salsa music, and we've done rock and other things like that. So I think for me, it's all about bringing together like-minded people and communities of people, and music is one of the best ways to bring people together. We also did a board game cruise recently, and again, that's kind of
game
a
cruise.
board game cruise.
Wow.
What do you mean, like
how does that work?
Monopoly theme? Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
We're so on touch with the board games. No, there's no Monopoly and all that stuff. It's all these new board games with all these little pieces and things like that. Yeah.
Really?
That's really cool.
It is kind of cool. Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Next for us is we are working on a big event in May, which hopefully will still happen. And then we have Salsa Cruise and Groove Cruise in October, and then we have our big Groove Cruise in January.
Fantastic. So for folks who might not know, there might be 2 or 3 out there who don't know, what is Groove Cruise?
Groove Cruise is a experience that I created 16 years ago, and basically getting a group of friends together to go on a cruise and really good music. And long story short, I created a business plan to charter a cruise ship. I had no money, I had no resources, I didn't know anybody in the cruise industry or the music industry when I started. And just had a dream and a vision of what it would be like to have a whole cruise ship, which is 2,000 to 4,000 people, and really good music, and all friends and so forth. And it took me 7 years to do that. And we've done 26 full ship cruises to date from different genres of music. And we won Carnival and Norwegian Cruise Line's Charter Partner of the Year, a few other awards, been on some media and stuff like that. So it's been an interesting ride.
You are so humble. You're selling out these epic experiences, thousands of people, and you are their leader. What has been the secret sauce to your success, Jason?
I think the secret sauce is just caring about people and listening to people. So I am hyper focused on what people want and giving it to them. So we do surveys after the events, we listen on social media, we post a lot of questions, and just always listening, and also being willing to say that you're wrong and making the changes, and then also always taking it another step further and innovating and never changing and always creating new things and new, like Groove Island last year, and always just taking it to the next level.
Well,
I think that's what's really important.
You remain so humble and authentic throughout this all, and it really translates through the whole community, because I mean, people come out and they're literally unapologetically living their best, most expressed selves. I mean, I met this person in full unicorn. I mean, it's the only way to describe it. Like only wearing glitter and paint and fabulous. It's just like, yes, I'm a board certified dermatologist, and I'm like, oh my God, these incredibly distinguished professionals who are just letting their just creative juices fly. Their hair is down. They are unicorns now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's fascinating to me, and I love that you sharing that sort of experience, because I think the important thing is that you obviously create a safe space where people can fully express themselves.
A non-judgmental space.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just a place where, on a cruise ship or an island, where you can just, there's no judgment, and you can be who you actually are. You can be your crazy self. You don't live in the norms. You're not around your clique of friends. You're not around your, clientele if you're a doctor. We had a mayor there from a city in the East Coast, and she back home, she probably can't wear those things or do those things, but because she's in the public eye all the time, and they're going to criticize her, and the next time she runs, she might, these things might pop up. But it's a safe space where people can be themselves, do themselves, and just have fun, have the time of their life, and connect and meet new people. And when you travel, your guard is also kind of down, because you're out of your element, you're out of your clique, you're out of your routine. And that just, having that feeling that everybody else is on the same level, it kind of creates this very unique community. In islands and cruises, you can't really go anywhere. So you see the same people over and over again, and that's different than a festival, a concert, a conference, a convention, where people really get to know each other. They really build deep bonds and deep relationships, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that they can't share with anybody else.
Fascinating. When you started, how did you grow this thing? Did you start with existing friends and colleagues, or did you reach out to, was it new, cold kind of leads? How did you start?
So I started with a 375-person email list that I had, and I'm really good at getting a word-of-mouth marketing and getting people to talk about that. So affiliate marketing, word-of-mouth marketing, and incentivizing people to tell their friends. And that's kind of how it started. So I had 125 people on the first one, and my goal was to double it every year. So do 250, 500, 1,000, and 2,000 was the goal. So didn't quite do that, but almost did it. It took me 7 years to do it. But yeah, I didn't have any money or resources or anything. It was just, getting feedback from the guests of what they like and don't like, and changing and just continuing to grow it.
So how can we best continue to support you, grow this company, spread this mission, especially in the light of these times? The ship is still going to set sail, right?
The ship is still setting sail, so we have a cruise in October out of LA. It's actually our biggest one yet. It's 4,000 passengers. Wow. It's the Norwegian Bliss. Oof. So it was probably the worst time to launch a cruise in the history of the world last week. But we did launch it, and it actually did okay. We still had some, bookings and sales. It wasn't great.
October's months and months away.
And it's months and months away. So we're hoping that this passes, and people are get back to going on cruises. The cruise lines are actually doing a lot of things, being very proactive. Like they're going to do temperature scans and things like that, getting onto the ship. So it's, in that regard, probably safer than most other communal activities and things like that. Just continue once people feel safe to continue traveling and going out there and living your life and experiencing new things and meeting new people. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about. I mean, I think with this, everyone's like hunkering down and is supposed to stay at home, and the government wants us to stay in our at home and work from home and not do anything. But it's just, I don't know, it's kind of.
It's like anything too, right? It's like once this whole thing passes and people are completely fed up with the cabin fever thing and it's safe again, it's going to probably be exponentially.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I always like to, exactly. I always think from the positive, and I mean that's certainly one of them. Is there's definitely going to be pent up demand and pent up cabin fever for sure.
Fantastic.
Better costumes this year for sure.
Oh my gosh, totally.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you.
So on social media, Travel Jason, and then Groove Cruise is Groove Cruise, and Salsa Cruise, and so forth. And Wet Travel, WHET, is our company name.
Awesome.
Which means to excite in the dictionary.
To excite.
From the Chief Excitement Officer.
Exactly.
Expect nothing less.
Kind of all piecing it all together there.
Thank you so much, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back with more on EverTalk Live.
Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push over the limits with you right now. Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push over the limits with you right now. Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push over the limits with you right now. Get it right now. Right now. Get it right now. Yeah, push over the limits with you right now. Gotta get it right now. Gotta get it right now. Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push over the limits with you right now. Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push over the limits with you right now.
Welcome back to EverTalk Live. We are so excited to be here with one of the top female entrepreneurs who are changing the world, according to Inc. magazine, and according to yours truly as well. Joel Schiller, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about this unconventional life and how you've mastered it in a way that's actually changing the world.
Yeah, so it actually all began with a near-death experience back in 2015. So I had this crazy wakeboarding accident. I was a big athlete, and literally I remember hitting the water, and my next memory was coming out of the hospital in the MRI, and I was approached by this white figure, 6 Black Shadow Council member conversation of, Jules, you have more work to do in the world. Do you want to do it? And I just remember, the doctors thought my neck was broken. They thought I was paralyzed. And it was like, yes, as long as I don't come back as a vegetable, was what I remembered saying. And in that next moment, I was zapped back into my body. I felt this energy forge my neck back together and shoot down my spine. And ever since that moment that I woke up in that hospital room, everything shifted. And it talks a lot about like my life before very much was driven by me. I think many of us, we've have this ideals of what success are. If I can just get that paycheck. Here we are in beautiful Beverly Hills, for example. But then it's like you reach that point, you figure out how to make money, and then what? and you still go to bed at night not feeling totally fulfilled, or you have that moment while you're driving to work and you're like, why is this not enough? And it was after that accident that everything started shifting. And I remember literally being in a neck brace and getting a call from the UN that was like, do you want to come be a global ambassador for education? I was like, you know, this isn't really the best time right now. And lo and behold, it all kind of evolved from there. So.
Wow, that's profound. So what was your belief system or philosophy before the accident?
Yeah, so I was raised Catholic, which I very much did not, accept so much. I remember fighting my parents as the oldest of 5 girls, being like, I don't want to go to church, but if you miss church, then
you get to enjoy anything else.
Nothing else is possible. But I never really had a relationship to faith or necessarily to the other side. I would always say that I was spiritual to some degree, but after that experience, there was no doubt in my mind of that there is something else, and it felt like the most profound sense of love in a way that I'd never experienced before, like actually a love that I haven't seen on this side. And so it definitely altered a perspective of not just seize the day or make today your best, but more like, what are we actually doing here? What's the point of this whole experiment right now? And I think there's a consciousness that's awakening on our planet right now in these conversations and the work that we're doing. And I think many of us inside of that, it is asking these deeper questions. It is using things like art and innovation and impact to bring some of this deeper work forward. And so,
or podcasts, or talk shows.
Yes.
Yeah, or music, all of it, totally.
I think it's a really interesting conversation to have, though, that despite having an awakening, if you will, and being enlightened, that you still can have daily struggles. Because nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to live that perfect experience, even when you are awakened. So how do you get back into that? I mean, after your accident, and you're like, yes, I'm commissioned, I'm speaking at the UN, and you still have a bad Wednesday. What do you do on that bad Wednesday?
Probably not this Wednesday, but yeah.
Today's a pretty fabulous
You know what
Wednesday.
I'm saying, Val?
Yeah, I do. And in a lot of ways, it actually made the gap even bigger, because I think to some degree, part of, being the human experience is dealing with pain and separation. And I remember coming back and literally feeling like I had this supercharged soul battery and I couldn't place it in my life. I have this profound experience. It's like you go on an amazing trip, and then you come back to real life and you're like, you look at the gap. And so for me, I had to learn a lot about mindfulness and a lot of different practices, because on the sun side of it, it was deep apathy of well, if that's available, what am I doing here?
It's interesting. I read this article even just today, and it was saying that the universe isn't trying to test you. It's really just showing you that gap, that very gap you just mentioned, on where you're vibing and where you can be. So what do you need to do? What is that mindfulness practice? What music do you need to do, or meditation do you need to incorporate into your life to raise that vibe?
Yeah, and I think at the heart of it, it's connection. And I know we've been talking about, coronavirus right now. It's everywhere. You can't, you have to be living under a rock. And I was in Bali and I got back to the States and I'm like, oh, this is really a thing right now.
Yeah.
And at the start of it, though, I think prioritizing connection in a world where it's isolation, separation, be afraid, don't touch each other, don't go out of your house, don't do these different things. There's a reality to that. But there's also just as much of a reality that more than ever, I feel like we're being asked to come together and to co-evolve, to step out of our individual silo domains that we've created for ourselves and actually say, cool, you're doing this and you're doing that. How can we start to work together? And I think we're at an inflection point, many of us. And I think in that inflection point, we have choice. And in that choice, I really do think it is prioritizing and actually doubling down on evolutionary work together.
I just love that. I completely agree with you, really, in all of that. So how are you sort of facilitating that in the world? Because you clearly are, in terms of bringing people together and helping people rise and evolve and awake.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my best ways that I do that as a musician and as an artist, I actually just released an album called Portal and was given a grant with the Canadian government last year to do an 11-song album. So I've got a second album actually coming out this fall.
Right? Is it sponsored by the Canadian government?
Yeah, they really love their artists in BC. So we actually had 23 different artists that performed on it, from choirs to orchestra to horns. So it's an amazing project, and I think music is one of the fastest ways to kind of cut through. So that's a big part of what I do. And then we're also bringing a group of 500 on a ship this summer called Entrepreneurship.
Nice.
Everyone from,
Very nice play of words.
All right, everyone from athletes to musicians to different people like that. So the music, though, is definitely the primary driver of how I, facilitate connection in the world. So
is that the story behind the title Portal?
Yeah.
Portal.
Clever with the words, right? Yeah.
I do like to be creative. That actually began after an eclipse season. We had 3 eclipses and there was a Lionsgate portal, which actually said took you to the other side. So you'll have to watch and listen to the album to find out more.
Just incredible. So how would you say, how would you describe the ways in which you approach work and life now differently than you did sort of before the near-death experience?
Yeah, I think the core philosophy is allowing life to come through rather than allowing life to be driven by you. And I guess what I mean by that, I think all of us to some degree are a channel. We have the ability to let our gifts come through and then be delivered. And so often we have these little voices in our head that tell us, oh, we can't do it, or it should be this way, or our logic and rational mind that's like, is this gonna make money? Am I gonna be okay? But to actually give yourself the space to listen, I feel like we're often being asked to do more or add more, but I actually find that it's in the listening that you get exactly the directions that you need in exactly the right time. And so for me, I would say I'm always following my highest excitement. And so I'm listening. Is that sitting at the piano for a few hours this morning? Or is that, being on like marketing calls with a bunch of our different partners? And I've had so many friends that are like, why don't you just choose? I think this has also been something a lot of us have inherited. Yeah. We need to choose. You're either going to be an artist, or you're going to be a business person, or you're going to be this label. And then you're like, well, what if I have a lot of passions and I don't fit in any boxes? Am I just screwed? Or now what? Yeah. Now what do I do? And so I do believe it's possible to have this and reality, but in order to do that, we have to honor each part of ourselves. And I actually believe true success doesn't happen until we bring all those parts to the table at the same time and really open this space for all of that. And so I just try that in my daily life in various different ways.
I love that. If you wouldn't mind, could you explain that for a sec? Because I think that's a point that I want to highlight.
Sure.
That people probably want highlighted, which is like, what is true success? Because I think lots of people see people that are very successful in terms of traditional ways, making lots of money, maybe they've won lots of awards and they're maybe very popular, but I wouldn't necessarily describe that as true success. How do you describe true success?
For me, it's my meter of joy. How much is my joy quota being filled in my life? That could be looking out at the ocean, or that could be out in the mountains. That could be signing a huge contract. That could be performing to thousands of people on stage. But I look at what is joy and I go back to essence and feeling. And I think feeling is something we can relate to on a micro level. And often when we look at just these big goals, we only get that feeling for a second, but all that in between time, we're absent of it, we're lack of it. So in my life, I like to look at how can I consistently put wins on the board? How can I consistently fill that joy quota? And I find inside of that, that does build a foundation where real success comes, because when you're happy and when you feel joyful and you feel gratitude, you want to do more. You become magnetic. Not only do you become magnetic, more people want to be a part of your vision. And I think the ripple really transcends from alignment and from there. So.
Preach. Love it. Praise emojis.
Joy is contagious right now. Thank you so much, Jules. Please tell everyone where they continue to find, follow, support you, get your music.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can head over to julesschroeder.com and at julesschroederlife on Instagram, julesschroedermusic.com as well. So thank you both so much.
Just phenomenal.
Thank you for
appreciate
the portal that you are. We appreciate you. Keep streaming. We'll be right back with more on EverTalk Live.
Thank you.
4, 3, 2. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm your host, Jez Mouillet, aka The Trading Bell. What a morning it will be. Due to recent news, we're expecting that the market will be down today, but that could potentially present some opportunity for us. Let's take a look at our watch list. One of the things that differentiates the Trading Bell from any of the other stock shows, other than we do live trading, is everything that we do is on camera, so you can see it as it happens. You are seeing what's happening right now in this moment. 2020, it's all about money, money, money. That is my motto. Remember, money never sleeps, pal. That's right. That's why I'm here trading in Los Angeles live with you at the opening bell. Whew, sun is not even up yet, but the stocks are on the move. Numbers are moving faster than I can even speak. Well, let's face it. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I've got goosebumps. This is a history in the making. Top of the list, SVRA up 154% this morning. Build BBI at 162. Oh, that feels good. BPH, Spring Baked Pharmaceuticals up 22%. That is going to make for a very sweet start to 2020. Filled. Woo! That feels good. Just a disclaimer, this is an entertainment show, so please don't treat any of the information you hear on the show as an investment advice, because trading is risky. What's on the year strong? Visit EverTalk TV, Facebook, or Instagram at The Trading Bell. Remember, every dream has its price. What's yours?
Sitting all alone, mouthful of gum in the driveway. Friends on far in the back of my car, lay the bodies. Where's my mind? Where's my mind?
Serious vibe, and it's not just
Smooth,
the
man.
hair, it's the sound. Nico, thanks so much for being
you
with
for
us
having
today.
me.
So congratulations, by the way, on the release of some of your latest music.
Yes,
Tell us a
thank you.
little bit about what you've been releasing.
So far I released 3 original songs, and I worked on my team in Atlanta with it. And it's Forever, I Want to Be Your Man, and What's It Gonna Be? And it was really cool because the first song that I did with them in Atlanta, it was like my first time ever being in a studio. It was like the best experience of my life because that was the first time I got to see like how everything works and like the whole process of everything.
So break down that moment for us, because so few people actually ever get to experience something like that. When you walk in, you're like, all right, this is it. This is the dream.
Yeah. Just like walking in the studio, I was like looking at all like on the walls and seeing like all the like artists that I've like recorded there, and it was just an amazing experience. Like,
Do you remember who you saw on the wall?
There was Usher and Justin Bieber was like the like, 2 main people. I was like, oh, it's
Good studio to be in.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Company right there.
Yeah. So where do your songs come from? Where does the inspiration come from?
I mean, it's kind of like a love kind of.
Yeah.
It's a love song, I would say. It's kind of cute little vibe to it.
Yeah,
I mean, would you consider yourself a romantic?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Look out, everybody.
Yes, I would. Yeah, I'm just like, because I also watched a show called like Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
I'm like a big like romantic person.
Yeah.
I love that.
Do you hear the melody first, or do you get the lyrics first, or does it happen simultaneously? How does it happen with you?
I kind of just start hearing the melody first. And then once I do that, like we just start like working together as a team with it and see what like ideas we have with it.
Yeah. Do you know right away when it's going to be just like a hot song, or does it take some time of like riffing back and forth and then producing it before you realize, oh man, this is something I feel like great?
I mean, I think at the start of it, if it like sounds like really good to you and you think it could be like a good song, I think it'll do well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about TikTok, because I know you're doing real well on TikTok. Tell us about that.
I started TikTok about in summer, like June, July, about then. And I just started kind of like posting videos like me like singing like wherever, like my house, like in the kitchen or my room or whatever. And like they just started kind of blowing up a little bit, and like people started liking it, so I just kept doing it.
Yeah. I still haven't made the transition to TikTok. I'm like working, it feels like cryptocurrency to me. It's like, just feels like something that's not quite real, and I know that it is, and clearly it is. What tips do you have for people who want to like do the TikTok thing and do it right?
I mean, to do well on TikTok, I feel like you just have to have like original content that's like your own and that you think would do well, and just be your like self on there.
So being a sophomore and being very romantic with killer
Yes,
hair.
exactly. And a great voice and musical talent will help.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years, Nico?
5 years, I would want to be signed to like a major like label and just be traveling with my music and showing people like what I can do.
We just saw a really inspiring duet. Is there any dream duets you'd like?
Dream duets, I would love to sing with Billie Eilish. I literally love her. Like,
Yeah. What do you love most about her?
like her songwriting, like her and her brother like would write songs together, and their songwriting is amazing. And her voice is like one of the most like unique voices I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I just love that song. In the lyrics, you know, she had a dream and she got everything she wanted.
Yeah.
What is everything that you want?
I just wanted to be happy with my music and just do what I love and just inspire people with my music.
I feel like you're living that right now.
Recklessly
Right,
in
yeah.
Los Angeles, right there. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, and of course, get your music.
I'm everywhere, Apple Music, Spotify, just everywhere. Nico Anello, and I'm on Instagram as Nicholas Anello Official.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. We so appreciate you. I can't wait
Thank
to see
you.
where this incredible voice is going to take you.
Thank you.
Keep streaming. We'll be back with more on EverTalk Live.
Last night I dreamt and you were there. But when I woke in the morning, it didn't feel real. Putting the pieces back together, finding a strength I never knew. Start again. This time it's gonna be different. I'm learning to breathe again. This time it's gonna feel different. The past is in the past. Some things just never last. Learn to let go. Start again. Start again.
Welcome back to EverTalk Live. We are here with Tova Lay, who's got an incredible book. Not only is she an author and a performer, a content creator, but you've got a really great podcast too. #Nailed It.
I do. #Nailed It with my husband, Mike.
Oh my gosh.
This is not just a book, though, as Rob was saying at the break. This is a full brand.
I know. It allows me a lot of other books. You know,
Yeah.
there'll be the F'd at 50,
Yeah.
F'd at 60,
Right.
and you just suggested
Yeah,
just F.
that's right, exactly.
At the end.
Make sure that's your last one, though. I don't know what you do after that. It's the end of the franchise.
There's no coming back from that.
And this all started with a blog.
It did, yeah. I started a blog in 2015. It was called My Thoughts About Stuff, so not
Love,
the same
right.
name. And it was more about motherhood, and I have twins and another daughter. So we have 3 kids, and we had 3 kids in the space of 2 years. Wow. And I was really struggling with motherhood at that time. It was really difficult and overwhelming, not what I had expected, even though it's also wonderful, but there was a lot of it was hard. So I started this blog as a place to just share how I was feeling and be really honest about it. And I never meant for it to become like a blog, you know? But I was really overwhelmed by how many women, you know, could relate, and it resonated with them, and they would write back and tell me like, oh, thank you for saying this. And it kind of like grew from there. It's evolved though with the years. So my kids are a little bit older now. They're not as annoying.
They're less around. They're not around as much.
I mean, I think we're at the sweet spot now, you know, this before teenage years. So I think that'll be hard probably. But now they're cute. And I also really miss them because I haven't been home now for nearly 2 weeks. So I really miss them. So they're really cute now. But it's evolved into more women, you know, I talk a lot about women issues. And the book is more, it has motherhood in it, but also a lot of other topics like sexuality and
suburbia.
Yeah.
And
marriage.
How do you kind of navigate that? Because for so many women, it's a golden cage.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about that a lot. You know, I went through a midlife crisis, I guess, when I was 42. I put 40 on the book because it's more catchy, but really it was 42. And it was after a bit of a health scare that I had, so I had a bit of a something on my breast, which ended up being okay. But it was a real moment for me where I kind of like, my eyes were open to, I love my life and I have everything on paper and it's awesome. My kids, my husband, I have a home, like we're all healthy and we're all good. But actually I feel like I've really lost myself, you know, after being a mom for so many years. And again, motherhood is brilliant, but I felt like I had lost a big part of myself. And you feel really guilty saying that, especially when you're living the dream and the dream that a lot of women have. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Absolutely.
You feel really guilty to say that, like, ooh, but I did.
Yeah.
I know
I
so
said it.
many women though, and who only identify themselves as a mom. Oh,
Right.
well, I'm just a mom. How do you break out of that? I'm just a mom.
I mean, I think one of the things I talk about in the book a lot is the whole idea of labels. It's something that I really struggled with. I think we do have a lot of labels, and a lot of those, some of them have to do with motherhood. Even within motherhood, there's so many labels and categories, And I think those really limit us. For me, one of the things that was so, it opened my head was when I realized that I don't actually have to choose to be one thing. And I could change instead of saying I'm this or I'm that. I just started saying I'm this and I'm that and I'm that. And once you start like practicing that, you realize that actually, you're not just a mom, or you're not just a businesswoman, or you're not just a wife or a lover or whatever it is that you do. Like you're lots of different things. And sometimes it feels like they contradict each other, but I feel like that's okay as well.
Yeah.
Because life is a big contradiction, and it's okay. Like you can wake up one morning and bake cupcakes, and then the next day want your kids to piss off.
Right.
Like it's okay. Right. Like it doesn't necessarily. It can happen. Yeah.
Love that. I think it's fantastic. And you make such a great point that you said that you were basically having this experience where objectively on paper things were great, subjectively on the inside not so great, and you had lost yourself. And so part of what I hear you saying is that in order to find yourself, you begin to drop the labels, but also like embrace all of the labels.
Yeah.
What else did you do to find yourself?
So I made a bucket list.
Yeah.
I did a whole bucket list of things that I always wanted to do, or that I had done when I was younger and kind of stopped because I thought, I'm a mom, I'm over 40, like
my life is over.
Life is over, like I can't do these things now, it's ridiculous. And I made this bucket list, and I just went out and sort of did it. And it was lots of different things. Some of them were stuff like, bungee jumping, and I took up pole dancing. Sexuality, sexuality was a massive thing, like in the whole story, because it's a thing I think a lot of women feel like they lose after they become moms. Your body is like very much catered now for children, and it's touched the whole time, and you really do feel like you've lost ownership over it. So I took up pole dancing, I went to a nude spa, I did loads of different things. I went to Nepal and did the Everest Base Camp track. And actually what I'm doing right now was on the bucket list, which was to write a book about the whole thing and put it all in one place. For other women, hopefully, who maybe feel the same way and kind of feel like they can't say it out loud. So this is item number 7.
How many items are on your list?
Well, there were 7 items at the beginning, but
gross.
Bucket lists change all the time, don't they?
Yeah.
Like we should always update our bucket list, So
and our vision boards. And
everything. Oh, you need to teach me about a vision board.
It's very Los Angeles.
Okay.
Basically a bucket list you put on a piece of
on a
poster
board.
board
I like
and then hang above your desk or in your vanity.
Yeah.
Nice.
I feel like you're living your vision board.
There.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always there.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's nice because I feel like it makes you accountable. For me, it was more like the online of it. So I filmed it. And once you say, I'm making a series, you guys are going to be part of this journey, you have to go through it.
I feel the same way. Anything I tell my mother, has to be the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Speaking of series, talk to us a little bit about the podcast.
So the podcast is called #Nailed It. I co-host it with my husband Mike. We started doing these I do videos as well online. Some of them are serious and some of them are very silly. So the videos I do with my husband are very silly. They're basically us running around in the garden, mainly I'm in my underwear. He's not, but we recreate athletes kind of videos and sort of high-end commercials, and we do them our style. So it's called #Nailed It, and that's how the podcast was basically born.
Love it. It's very satirical.
And we sit in our kitchen surrounded by Lego. That's not a set. It's just my kids' Lego. And we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. So it's lots of fun. But we did do an online series which was called Mom Life Crisis, which is actually on Amazon now. They made a film out of it. So you can see all the bucket list and all the things that I did.
How cool is that?
We shot it. Yeah.
Did you expect that?
No. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not even remotely. We just shot it on our phones and just went and did it, and they picked it up. So yeah,
Wow.
it's really cool.
When did
yeah.
you just get a phone call from Amazon?
Sort
or you
of.
pitched it? Yeah.
Well, we were trying to pitch it, but
Yeah.
Amazon they came to us, which
Yeah.
was
It's always
so
nice.
great, so nice.
It is.
Yeah, so nice.
What's been the most rewarding thing about putting your story, your relationship, in the public eye?
Right. So people ask me that a lot, and they're like, why, how can you share such personal aspects of your life? So first of all, I always say this. People don't share everything. Like, even if you see and it's a lot, and I do share a lot, I don't share everything.
always a little
Yeah, you gotta
Nobody
have
does. Exactly.
limits somewhere.
Of course. So even I have my red lines. There's stuff that I haven't shared and won't share, or maybe I will one day. But the stuff that I've chosen to share is because I really do like the idea of having a conversation, especially about things that are maybe less mainstream, because there is so much shame out there. People doing stuff that is absolutely okay. It's not illegal. It's not, I don't know, but maybe it's just a little bit less mainstream, and they're happy. They're not hurting anyone, but they feel like a lot of shame because they can't talk about it publicly. So I like to put it out there and start a conversation, and I think it does help, it does help, because people go away and go, oh, it's not just me, I'm not alone. Okay, there are other people, and it's great. We have to have those conversations, because we're all different, and that's okay. And some people react with hate, but I think if you're coming from a place of love, even if it's not for you, you're able to say, do you know what, it's not for me, but yeah, you're happy, great, So yeah.
I find that so interesting. Is it both pleasurable things and painful things that you share
Yeah.
that are sort of taboo and
Yeah.
people feel shame around? Yeah, both.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, you have your next guest going to talk about it more. I don't want to, but I do. I talk a lot about self-pleasure and everything that has to do with sex and sexuality. Because again, I feel like it's one of those things that's still very shameful, very hidden. Also,
especially in American culture.
Yes.
Is it really? Do you
Really?
think? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird because this is something off topic completely, but I have a following in America, but also in Europe. So I did this video once about granny pants. Do you know what granny pants are?
yes.
Yeah. That was a big hit in Germany.
Really?
I don't know why. But it was. So yeah, I like doing that. And then every now and then I'll throw in topics that are more serious. Because again, like I really didn't expect to have this platform, but now that I do, like, women have always been at the heart of everything that I do. And if I can promote anything to do with women's rights, I'm there. So like any opportunity I get, I will do that. So I've talked about rape culture, and I've talked about women's rights to choose, and other topics that are hard to talk about, when you put yourself out there. And there is a lot of hate as well. But like I said, I think you have to be able to say those things,
Well, I don't think you were effed at 40. I think you've only just begun.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're really igniting this conversation. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you. Of course, get your book.
So the book is available worldwide on Amazon and on my website, tovalee.com, and I can be found on Instagram, Tova_Lee, and on Facebook. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
thank you.
Keep streaming. We'll back with more.
Awesome.
Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push over limits with you right now. Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push over limits with you right now. Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push over limits with you right now. Get it right now. Right now. Get it right now.
EverTalk Live. Well, our next guest is considered by Women's Health magazine to be the head mistress of pleasure. Layla Martin's with us today. Thank you so much for being here, by the way.
Such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. What a title.
Pleasure.
I love that. All of the puns intended. So how did you really be able to kind of come and master this for yourself to be considered the head mistress of pleasure? Did this start in India?
It's sort of. It actually started before India with all of the heavy conditioning and trauma. So I had like a double conditioning of Catholicism and slut shaming and fear around sex. And then I also experienced sexual abuse in childhood. So I was so profoundly shut down around sexuality, around my body. I literally couldn't go into Victoria's Secret when I was a teenager. Like I was so freaked out by everything sexual. And I went to Stanford University, I started studying sexuality, and I had this feeling like I want to know the secrets. Like this is a great education on how to take care of people medically, but it doesn't really show you how to have what people are craving and what I'm craving, dear goddess, which is like mind-blowing, epic sexual experiences, profound like orgasms that bring you to, divine states. And so I bought a one-way ticket to Thailand when I was 18. And spent 10 years in Asia on and off learning both neo and classical tantra.
Wow. What surprised you most about that experience?
What surprised me most about that experience was that you can deeply heal trauma. Like I thought I was a lost case. I was like, okay, like the best I can hope for is just being able to get up and struggle through my day, but at least get through my day. And so I think one of the things that surprised me the most was that it was possible to go from like so shut down, so much suffering, so much just like fatigue and dragging myself through the day to feeling genuine joy, like genuine gratitude, genuine magic through my life. And then also just that even the best examples that we have of sex in this culture, like, maybe what you see in Hollywood or like our best fantasies of what sex can look like are still only like scratching the surface of what's actually possible. There's this whole domain of sexuality. The same as like in the 1950s, people had no idea that like your body could be so amazing. Like when you discover with yoga or mindfulness, there's this whole world inside of us that people didn't even know about 50, 60 years ago. And so what I discovered is there's that whole same world in sex that's so powerful.
I love that you are such a hardcore scientist.
Yeah.
Who loves and appreciates the deeply mystical that is our essence and our being. And it's not just about this epic orgasm, but it's really about living truly in our essence, whether that's in our masculinity or in our femininity. How do you tap into that? Is there anything that you do beyond sexual practices that really kind of light your fire and keep you turned on?
Besides sexual practices.
Seriously, like, is there a way, is it finding joy in the ritual of the tea the way you want it, or the feeling of water on your skin, or washing your hair? I mean, because those can be quite
the mindfulness practices around that.
Definitely. I think especially what nourishes the feminine essence and the feminine soul is being in devotion to pleasure and finding that which is pleasurable. But also one of the things I love teaching is to take practices that you're already doing. So it could be meditation, it could be yoga, it could be shaking in the morning, it could be exercise, and seeking the little pleasures in them because they're always there. The sensation in the skin, what it feels like in your body when your heart is racing, and using that to actually build these pathways in your brain where it's more possible and more likely for your whole system to say yes to pleasure.
Why do you think, especially women, feel so guilty about experiencing pleasure?
Oh, let's see why. Why ever would we feel guilty about experiencing pleasure? All of the messages from you could go to hell for experiencing pleasure. The body is impure, it's sinful, slut shaming, right? Like the slut shaming actually puts a fear of death inside of women because if you are threatened with being kicked out of your tribe or kicked out of your group, that equals death for tribal creatures, which human beings are. So women from very early ages get the message that should you feel too much pleasure, should you be too sexual of a creature, you could die. Something very, very bad will happen to you, and that actually gets in the nervous system. So they have MRI scans of women's brains where they're actually physiologically turned on and they're reporting that they don't feel any pleasure. And they can actually see neurologically that it's the part of their brain that is judging whether something's socially appropriate or not, that goes in and literally blocks the pleasure, numbs them out to their own experience of pleasure. So we like to think sometimes that like feeling more pleasure is about feeling more pleasure. What I've discovered is it's usually about healing and integrating shame and fear and contraction and finding the inherent pleasure that's already there that we can't always feel.
Really beautifully said.
powerful.
You know, it's so interesting. I remember at a point in my life, like looking at all of the sort of best therapies that exist in the world for really curing or solving any of the dysfunction that we experience as human beings. And the one thing I found that it wasn't about the therapy, it was about the therapist and whether the therapist was able to hold a space for unconditional regard.
Yeah.
Right? That's the most healing element in any particular, it's also the most healing element in any particular relationship. Was that part of your experience, and what would you describe or say really at the essence or core allowed you to heal most consistently and most thoroughly?
Having a regular self-practice where I related and connected to my sexuality. So it's something that people think of as like that sounds so out of the norm. And so having like a 10 to 15 minute jade egg practice, or even just doing things like breathing with my pelvic floor, it allowed me to uncover, okay, like what's really in there? And sometimes we never stop and take stock. Like, what are those stories inside of my body? Where is any contraction coming from? Where have I been programmed to experience sex in a way that's out of alignment with my deep truth? And so having this kind of touchstone practice, like with anything, gives you the time and space to unwind what's not you. And what I'm a big believer in is that there is this beautiful sexual core in all of us that deserves to be expressed, and that we become much more fully alive when that sexual core is restored. And it's a huge piece missing from the conversation of being fully energized in your life, really making the most out of your experiences. I find that our sexuality neurologically and also spiritually is one of the centers of having an amazing time in a human body.
And loving who you see in the mirror.
Yes.
That goddess.
Yes. It's so crazy. I tell women all the time, I'm like, when you do a sexual practice, you get back your inherent worthiness. Like, you start to feel. And the number of women who are like, oh my God, I did it. I did like 7 practices, 10 practices, and I stood in the mirror naked and I was like, I am divine. And I'm like,
I'll get a spray tan first. But okay, I am divine. Thank you so much for being with us. Please tell everyone where you can be found, where they can follow you.
Yes, so you can head to laylamartin.com. You can sign up with your email address. I do weekly training videos, so if you're like, how do I do this? I give really step-by-step practices on how to bring all of this alive inside of your body. There's also lots of free materials and information. You can also find me on YouTube, Layla Martin, and Instagram, The Layla Martin.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yes,
for being
thank you both so much.
And thank you for streaming with us today. We will be back tomorrow. We're live every Monday through Friday. And of course, you can find us on Apple TV and Roku via the EverTalk app.
That's right. Have a great day. Have a happy day on purpose.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Hey.